started the show talking about artificial intelligence disrupting pretty much livelihood of as many as 12,000 people, even though TCS doesn't attribute it to AI. But there's something else that's happening in the world of AI, and that's the fact that all those chats on these AI chatbots may not be private, in fact, are not private and can be subpoenaed as well. Now, that's a big problem, especially for all those people who have had these personal, private interactions with this agent, with this chatbot, believing that, hey, there's no human at the other side. But guess what? There could be a human who can read the transcripts of all those chats and really figure out what is the conversation you had with them. Now, that, Shweta, becomes particularly scary for people who all this while thought that everything is encrypted. Yeah. There is no human being at the other end of the line. And guess what? Maybe all those personal, private conversations will not remain private.
Are not really private. So let's just put it this way. If you do end up hurting someone or maybe murdering someone, just don't tell OpenAI because or ChatGPT or DeepSeek
I'll
or
keep that in mind for my next murder, for sure.
Point being, nothing that you write or ask for guidance, for counseling, for therapy is protected. So tomorrow, if they are subpoenaed, your conversations with them will be out and open in a court of law, being read by everybody. So far, I think we've all based our assumptions using ChatGPT. I'm not sure if both of you use it to ask a lot of questions about how to do, what to do.
I've kept my private life outside of ChatGPT thus far, I guess.
There are lots of young people who go ask answers on ChatGPT for their mental health issues, right? Yeah. So, and for those of you who are going out there and asking questions on ChatGPT, need to be very careful because OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has said that they are all available to be subpoenaed, which essentially means that there is no privilege, a privilege that we may enjoy with a therapist or with a lawyer. Yeah. So there is no client privilege. Yeah. Essentially, if tomorrow you end up writing something that can be harmful and you'll be dragged to court, all of these conversations can be produced.
Krishna, I think, I see a case where in case there is a crime that's committed, right, then your entire digital history can be called. There's no problem. But what about thousands of others, maybe lakhs, millions of others who are actually not out there committing crimes? They are talking private stuff with ChatGPT or alike, and really, like the intended purpose of the story is seeking therapy. Yeah. Now, there's nothing wrong in seeking therapy, but at the end of the day, if this little caveat is there that, whatever private personal questions you are asking the chatbot can be brought up at some point, it becomes a blast from the past for people. How are they expected to deal with this?
Yeah, I'm going to say two things. When I read the story, the first thing that came to my mind was this film called Her, which featured Joaquin Phoenix and went on to be an Oscar-nominated film, in which Joaquin Phoenix, the guy, a lonely guy, ends up talking to a voice assistant, artificial intelligence-powered voice assistant, and ends up in having a relationship with that voice assistant. Right. And eventually he discovers the fact that that same voice assistant confesses to the fact that she, the voice in question, has the same relationship with thousands of others. Right. So, and then he feels disappointed and decides to end that relationship or let it go. Right. I mean, that was a futuristic film, fantastic film. Spike Jonze directed the film. And we are in that dystopian reality today. You are talking to ChatGPT is talking to so many people. That's right. Whatever you tell ChatGPT goes into recycling mode for ChatGPT to refer to other people as well. As far as psychologists and clinical psychologists go, they've sounded out warnings. In fact, just now there's a study by Stanford University which says that if you're seeking therapy from ChatGPT, ChatGPT is not a real person. It is good at mimicking human emotions and mirroring human behavior. That's right. So it makes you feel as if you're being heard. Awesome. Whereas actually you're not being heard. You're just being given answers which another human being might have. And the ChatGPT is trying to do it. Right. And the study has gone on to show the fact that if you have a mental health crisis and you are using ChatGPT to solve it, it has the potential to exacerbate that mental health crisis. They've really sounded a warning. And not just Stanford University. The NHS of the UK, the National Health Service of the UK, the government-backed health service of the UK, the doctors over there also did a research on it, and they've said the exact same thing. If you have a mental health crisis, do not go to ChatGPT because it could get worse.
Right, but there's another data point, and Shweta, I'll let you weigh in on that. And there's another very interesting study done by the NHS in the UK itself, and there's a case load of some 65 patients given to a certain set of doctors in the UK. Exactly the same case history was fed to Copilot run by Microsoft. You'll be surprised. The strike rate of Copilot was about 80%. ChatGPT, reading the same data, was able to correctly diagnose the root cause of the ailment for these patients in 8 out of 10 times. You know what was the track record of doctors?
Less than that, I'm guessing.
20%. So the point
That's a
is,
huge margin.
at some level, if the same doctors are telling you not to rely on these virtual therapists,
They're failing their jobs.
is it just protectionism at play? At the end of the day, the question really is that the question is about privacy. The question is not really right now about whether or not to consult these virtual therapists. Privacy is at stake.
So
and there
let
are some
me
very
let me
personal
give you some
conversations you have with your
Indian
therapist.
Indian context. So we were looking at large number of student suicide rates in India.
Yeah.
Recently, there have been student suicide reported just around the corner, Shraddha University, Greater Noida, and you realize that, and this is UN data, especially coming from India as far as mental health crisis is concerned, a large section, about 70% of the people who suffer from mental health needs do not seek therapy, and this is where ChatGPT comes in.
Yeah.
So with all the alarm bells that NHS is sounding, from an Indian context, people cannot afford therapy. It's expensive, there is stigma, you've got to make an appointment, you've got to let people know, they will eventually come to know if you're out and about for 2 hours, disappeared. So in which case, I think ChatGPT or any other for that matter, Gen AI comes to your rescue. Now, on the question of, I'm sure not every person is committing robbery, theft, murder, but let's say you're being bullied and you end up feeding something into your system, and then you're called in as a witness and your history has been also called in, and you bullied someone or you were a part of a process in which someone was bullied, committed suicide, all of that is not protected. I think it's important for people to know whatever you are doing, writing on ChatGPT or any other generative AI, can be called into question if and when you are brought under the legal process of the law, and the legalese will not allow you to get away with it.
I'd say people going through a mental health crisis, best solution, if you ask me, Karthik, is try doing yoga.
And to sum it up, you can do yoga, you can ask questions of ChatGPT, but be careful. Anything that you put out there can be brought under the purview of law if and when required by authorities. Nothing is protected, so just be careful and continue to use the way you like to.
Yeah, and continue to watch the weekly brief on News 9.
So on that note, should we call it a weekend?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Weekly Brief. We'll see you again next week as well. Thank you so much
Please
for
like,
watching.
subscribe and share. Thank you.